Guys and dolls, it is Sunday morning. Not too early at all for me. Good 7 hours last night, well chuffing myself. So thanks for the live last night, guys. Brilliant, good crack. Hope you're all good. It's the morning after the national strike demos. Been watching a bit of footage, some good turnouts in some good areas. Not so good turnouts in some areas, but it's understandable, you know. But yeah, it's like I say, it's the way forward, you know. It's the right to assemble, you know, the right to criticise, you know what I mean. So yeah, it's definitely something that people need to use going forward, and I definitely encourage it. You know, in this day and age when things are so bad, you know, we don't have many other outlets, and we certainly don't have mainstream media on our side. So yeah, so just a wee rundown what's happening. We've had 33 illegals stopped, so we have, believe it or not, in Northern Ireland. You know, so this fucking made the news, you know what I mean. They'll actually stop somebody and arrested them, you know, fuck's sake. So that's good. That's a step in the right direction. I don't know the full story. It's regarding a smuggling gang, and I have a suspicion that it's more to do with England and Wales, and they just happened to, you know, the operation was in England, and whether they're coming in here, they were coming in here. They were definitely coming in here, and they've seized, I think, a lorry as well and other stuff, and they've hit the business behind the smuggling gang. So to me, in layman's terms, you know, it's a company that exports and imports, and they've taken advantage. Now, whether they're a foreign company, whether it's a Northern Ireland company, Scottish company, England company, well, we don't know, you know. They this is the problem. You know, you've really got to read between the lines and work things out, you know, and it's nuts. It is absolutely nuts, you know what I mean. I'll throw the clip in. It's not a clip. It's just a newspaper sort of clip, if you know what I mean, from the internet. And I'll let you read it. I'll read a wee bit of it just so you can sort of understand what I'm talking about. But yeah, took me about 10 minutes to work it all out and read it back and forth a couple of times and to really grasp it, you know. But at first I thought, yay, they're listening to me. You know what I mean? They're checking for IDs, you know what I mean? They're checking for people coming into our country. But no, I think this has just been an operation of a business who's been making money, taking advantage of the situation and bringing people into the country. People smuggling. And yeah, and we've had, and there's stuff that I can't bring you. You know, you need to go to X. And what I will say is, I'll say the wee bit bunkers, right? They put them up on her X account, and you can jump on wee bit bunkers. You all know the name. Just go to X, give her a follow, subscribe, whatever it is on there. And like I say, I've just sent her one, so she can put both of them up. So yeah, it's a guy who's been threatening. I don't even want to say it on here. I'm just going to say kids or children, you know what I mean? Because it's worse than that, you know. And it's Sunday, you know, and you don't need this right now. But the boys in Ireland found him, found his camp, you know what I mean? Know the police, the citizens, and, you know, the knives, hatchet, but the knives were quite concerning, you know. Now, people, like, these knives were dangerous knives. There's no two ways about it. You could end people with these things, you know. I would call them daggers, you know. That's what I would call them. That's what they look like to me. They look like daggers. Is what we call daggers. There's knives that you cook with, and then there's daggers, okay? And unfortunately, these men can have these probably and say that they use them for cooking, you know. And especially when they're camping, they'll say that the axe is for cutting down wood and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's whenever a man is making videos saying that he's going to do X, Y and Z, and it's travelling around the internet, you would think the police would be into the camp. You know, they filmed the guy run off, you know, they never got him, like, but they destroyed what he had. And in the video they're talking and that, and they're saying, you know, the police are driving up here all the time, they know they're here, and there's lefties, like these lefties are feeding them, and that's what they're saying. If you want these guys, take them into your home, you know, take them into your home. That's basically what these Irish boys are saying. You know, if you want to get on about refugees being welcome, take these men into your home, you know, which is totally understandable. Yeah, I totally get it. If it's like, I mean, I seen one like a couple of days ago, where like there was houses were just here, just right there. Then there was like see the trees. So just behind them trees would be houses, and then you had a migrant camp. You know what I mean? Fucking no kidding you on, like, and people were coming out and giving them food. You know, these were unvetted fighting age men, and you know, I'm not saying every single one of them are bad. Of course I'm not saying that, you know what I mean? But all I'm saying is there's very, very dangerous men amongst them. Some of the most dangerous men, more dangerous than any of our men. Like I say, our paramilitaries are like Mickey Mouse compared to these guys, you know what I mean? Or terrorism, they take terrorism to another level. We know that, you know what I mean? Look, see, the IRA used to like phone a warning that there was a bomb about to go off, so they could get people out of the area. You know what I mean? It's like night and day with these kind of guys, you know. So this is all totally common sense stuff and logical stuff, you know what I mean? And this is the way you've got to talk, you know what I mean? Because you've got to always say, yes, there's good ones and there's moderate ones and all the rest of it. And you know, like the argument with, like, I always say, you know, I always look at Iraq and Syria and how that went with the Islamic State, and then I look at Palestine and how that went with Hamas, you know, and you know, I've done these examples with the IRA and loyalist areas and you know, the two paramilitaries in two different areas. You know how difficult it is growing up in these areas to stand up against anybody. No, not, you know, at the end of the day, I never ever wanted to stand up against the paramilitaries, you know what I mean, as a young man, as you know, as I've explained all that is. But what I'm saying is, you couldn't look how many people were taken away by the IRA, that disappeared, they call it, you know what I mean? And that was people that were maybe standing up a wee bit. Like they say, they were touts and informants and all the rest of it, right? But you know, who knows, you know what I mean? I don't know, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, if you torture somebody long enough, they'll tell you whatever you want to know. They'll tell you exactly what you need to know, not the truth, you know what I mean? And so what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, there is moderate Muslims, just like there was moderate Catholics and Protestants, you know what I mean? But when you segregate areas and you have predominantly one particular religion in one area, and you have a small amount of extremism in that area, then you have a problem. You have a problem, you know. And then when you throw in the mosques and everything, and some of the rhetoric that comes out of there, as we've seen, as we've witnessed with our own eyes, you know, it's really concerning, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it was never a good place to start with, to be honest with you, as far as like the amount of terrorists that came out of some of the mosques in Luton, okay? Because that was the main concern of Tommy's right at the start. That was what he's trying to get across. Listen, they're all terrorists, you know what I mean? There's like battalions of them, you know. That's how he felt, because he's seen how they were operating and working. And it's one of them things, if you were there, you would see it. You know, extremism does stand out. You can tell guys that are serious, you know what I mean? And so what I'm trying to say is I don't think it's ever really been clamped down. Extremism is still there in England, and you know, I don't know. You know, I don't go around all the mosques, and nobody seems to investigate them, and we don't seem to ever see any much hidden footage coming from other Muslims, and that's concerning. Because if this was right-wing stuff, and people were getting on extremism and really being right-wing, like the government are trying to lie to us, which we know it isn't happening. There is no right-wing organisations. There's no militants or anybody wanting to do anybody any harm or burn down mosques or attack Muslims. We know that, right? But if there was a whisper of it, there would be they would be infiltrated. They'd be infiltrated by the Channel 4 and all that, and the government would be up in arms, and it would be non-stop. So you see the difference. Hi, we don't get nothing. And we know there's not nothing. This is the thing. We know we're not stupid. We know that all these men coming in will be going to these mosques. And we know some of these mosques do preach. Well, all I'm going to say is I don't think some of these guys do practice the religion of peace that the government try to tell us. You know, and like I say, there's always extremism, right? So we know there's definitely extremism, but it's the extent. It's not known. It's not having a clue what's going on. It's being kept silent. It's being nobody's wanting to talk about it. Everybody's just scared to talk about it. The government keep on going on like banging this drum about Islam and how great they are and how much they've done for Britain, and you know, like I say, they are the religion of peace. And every time I hear it, I scratch my head because I thought we were religion of peace. I'm like, what have we done? I'm like looking through history books and like, I know there's been some heavy duty stuff like, but you know, I'm thinking, what have we done the last 100 years? Yeah, there was the Gulf War, right? Okay, probably Christians, you know, they would probably blame that on Christians because we were, you know, mostly Christians, the Americans, the British, you know, and what else? We had the Falklands War, but that was the Argentinians, you know what I mean? Surely they were Christians as well, were they not? You know, I'm trying to think, what have we done not to deserve that label, the religion of peace? Why does it get handed to the religion that's carried out 20 to 30,000 terrorist attacks in a year? You know, you're like, what? You just be straight with us. You're worrying us. This is the thing. And then people get worried and they come online and they do videos and they put posts up and whatnot, and then the police go, you're far right racist. When all along they could be helping us understand what's going on. You know, that's how simple it is, guys. And, you know, I'm talking about this because it's Sunday. And I like my Sundays, you know. I'm not one of them guys that you say, you got to go to church and Sunday's the day of God and all that. Every day is God's day to me. You know what I mean? That's always been with me. The Bible's in my head. I've read it that many times. Come on, this way. If I need reassurance or I need a question answered, I would go to the Bible, you know. And yeah, that's down to you to do, you know what I mean? I'm not telling you what works and what doesn't work. This is me, you know. It's freedom that. This is how I roll. And like I say, the Bible's always been very, very close to me. I used to have the Psalm 23, 24 open. The Lord is my shepherd, open in my prison cell. You know, I used to have that opened in my prison cell when I was in prison, and in every cell, in every prison, in every country, that never changed. And maybe that's why I got protected so much. Maybe that's why, you know, everything always worked out all right when it came to the heavy duty stuff. But you know, all I'm trying to say is, guys, I'm proud to be a Christian, and I think we deserve that label of the religion of peace. And it concerns me when our government seem to be pushing that, because we're not hateful. It's not like, oh, we better push this rhetoric out because they're all going to turn against Muslims. We're not like that. We treat every person individually. You treat us, when we walk up to people, they get what they give. It's as simple as that. You give it a smile, you get a smile back. Like I say, if you growl at us, we just walk by and ignore you. You know, we're not here for confrontation. We've got enough getting to do with our day. People's got families. We've got people with drug addictions. We've got people dying of cancer. We're not interested in confrontation. None of us are. We just want to get on with our lives. We're not interested in none of this nonsense. But when it's starting to encroach on our children and on our lives, and it becomes like obvious that there's a problem with one particular religion and the way they look at our women and how they treat us and how they expect to be treated in our country, then yes, it does raise an eyebrow and people do get concerned. And then when they go to get answers, they're told that don't worry about it, it's a religion of peace. It's all good. So yeah, we need questions asked. We need to be able to ask questions. We need to understand why this rhetoric is going out, why there's so much evidence of so much horror that's landed on our shores and done so much damage to women, children and men. Let's not forget Lee Rigby, you know. It's hard. you know me with soldiers, guys, it's hard. You know, that's why you don't see me touching on it. You never see me touching on the Corporal Woods and Derek Cowes memorials and all that, because I can't do it. I cannot do it. You know, it's as simple as that. Certain things I just can't do. You know what I mean? And I'm not coming on here like with teary eyes and all that. I'm not doing that, guys. It's not what I'm about. You know, and it is. I know sometimes I've been close and you've seen that in over the 500 videos. But that's the nature of the beast. That's what we deal with. But the thing is, all I'm going to say, guys, is that you aren't far right. You aren't racist. You aren't bad people. There's nothing wrong with you thinking that, hold on, something's not right here. There's nothing wrong with you worrying about your government and thinking something else is going on because you don't understand why they're not just being straight and fair with you. Whenever you see the type of people getting into politics in England, I understand when you see everything together, it can be concerning. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I'm concerned as well, you know. When we see our children in our schools and we see the direction of the gender stuff, the way that was going, that was getting a wee bit out of control. And we see the influences on our children. We see children being encouraged to pray to Allah and being shown, you know, taken in the mosques and stuff like that. When we see our Easter and our Christmases being stuffed under the carpet, you know, hidden, then yeah, I get it. And then, you know, also when we see posts about people, like I'm talking about dog free areas and all that, you know, and then when we see the change of how we slaughter our animals, it is all very, very concerning. And there's nobody talking about it. You know, everybody's scared to talk about it. But there's nothing wrong with talking about it because it's happening. You know, it's one of the ones, once it's done, it's done, it's there, it's bang. Once you're past the 24 hours, you look back, it's there. No matter how far forward you go, you look back, it's always there. It's not going anywhere. They can't stop us talking about stuff. It's always going to be there. Everybody's going to look back and see it. So we're always going to be talking about it. Doesn't matter if they shut me down, shut anybody else down. There's going to be more people coming. They're going to be looking back and they're going to be talking about it. We're not going to stop talking about it because that's what they're wanting us to do. They want to silence us. They want to call us far right and racist because we're concerned of what we see. We're concerned of it coming to here, Northern Ireland, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that, guys. So have a good Sunday. Catch you later, hopefully. I'm not going to promise anything because I don't know what way the day will go. But yeah, have a good Sunday, guys. And as always, God bless.